So, the iPad 1, destined to be stuck on iOS 5, recently received new life. How is this possible? So yes, you read the title correctly. The iPad 1 can now run iOS 7. And not only that, it runs it perfectly. There are no problems that I've run into so far. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi both work. The auto rotation ability of this iPad works just fine. The sound works perfectly. I don't know what to say about this other than the fact that this is just a natively running iOS 7. I was able to sign into my iCloud. I was able to sign into FaceTime, although there's no camera on here. A few years back, I made a video discussing how the iPad 1 can run iOS 7, but we just didn't have a port of it yet. A few years ago, I tried porting iOS 7 to the iPad 1 with varying degrees of success. And by that I mean, I got the Apple logo to show up, but then it just immediately kernel panicked because it didn't have some drivers that it needed. At that point, I just gave up because I was busy with school at that point in time. I don't go to school anymore, but I was busy with school. I just simply did not have the time to work on this anymore. But I gave it my fair shot. A little while ago, though, we've now seen people port iOS 7 to the iPad first generation. This was running the iPhone version on an iPad. Things were very broken. Opening the settings app didn't work, for instance. A lot of stuff just did not work. Nowadays, just as of a couple weeks ago, we now have a proper port of iOS 7.1.2 that works flawlessly on the iPad 1, as if this device was designed to run iOS 7. And I'm not joking either. This is not some kind of skin pack. This is not something like that. No. This is actually iOS 7 running on the iPad 1. For those of you who don't know, the iPad 1 has the A4 processor with 256 megabytes of RAM and can be configured with 16 to 64 gigs of storage. Now, the iPad 1 does not have a camera. It does have a microphone, but does not have any sort of camera sensors or anything, so this is a very rudimentary device. There is nothing really that special about it. It's very much a first-generation product. However, with the A4 chip, this device could theoretically always run up to iOS 7, but the fact that it had 256 megs of RAM and it did not have a camera left it stuck on iOS 5 for whatever reason. iOS 6, it dropped any device that did not have a camera, and that includes the iPad 1, even though this device has an A4 chip, and the iPod Touch that came after it, the iPod Touch 4th gen, also could run iOS 6 because it had cameras. It had the same exact specs as this, but it could run 6 because it had a camera. I don't know why they decided to do that, especially because iOS 7 is running on this iPad and is running fine. In fact, there are actually many areas in iOS 7 that know that it's running on this first generation iPad. I don't know what sorcery this developer did, but there are many areas in iOS 7 where it just knows that it's running on an iPad 1. If you go to the Photos app and you don't have any photos on here, it will not say to take pictures with the camera. It will say to sync photos using iTunes. If you unlock and lock the device, the camera grabber that's normally down here is just straight up not there. So it knows what it's running on, and it knows that it's missing stuff. In fact, actually, the control center down here, there's no camera button either. It knows what it's running on, basically. That, or it was very heavily patched to treat it like it knows what it's running on. This feels like something Apple would have actually done to this device if it had come out. And the craziest part, iCloud works perfectly fine. I was able to sign into my iCloud account and it works perfectly. iMessage works totally fine. I've had no issues with it, and I'm able to sign in and it syncs between all my devices. I've tried having people call me and it will show up for half a second and then it will crash because there's no camera. But the app itself does actually open and function. I'm not entirely sure how the app doesn't crash here, but whenever I try to call someone, it just says call failed. So maybe there's a patch that can be done to allow FaceTime audio calls to work. I guess we'll see if that's something that can be done in the future. But yeah, everything works. Rotation works. I've shown that in the video. Everything works. Rotation works. I've shown that in the video a few times. The sound works. This was something that was very important that the iPod Touch 4 could not do. At least not yet. I'm sure that we'll get that patched soon. But the iPod 4 did not have working audio. The iPad 1 has its sound driver loaded. You can say I can adjust the volume using the buttons. I have my ringer switch that I can turn on and off. I can go to the music app here if I can find a song that is copyright free, which is none of them. I have to see if there's something in here that I think is. I literally write music, yet I didn't put any of my own music on here. I should probably go ahead and do that. Okay, I need to start. You can't argue with results. Everything on this iPad works. And the thing that's super cool about these iPads is that these have up to 64 gigs of storage. So that means that you can have an iPad 1 with iOS 7 on it and it just have a crap ton of space. And this will run newer apps. If you have an app that requires iOS 6 or 7, it will run on this. I have some apps that would not run on 5, but do have versions for 6 and 7, and they will work on here because this device now is just running 7. If you have an app that's more RAM intensive, then I would suggest that probably not running it, or maybe it just won't work, because the iPhone 4 with iOS 7 has the A4 chip, but it also has 512 megs of RAM. So everything works. That's pretty cool, but how does this iPad actually run with iOS 7? And I'm gonna be pretty honest with you, it's pretty sluggish. Now, is it more sluggish than the iPhone 4? Maybe a little, but the iPhone 4 is pretty sluggish too. This iPad, though, is pretty bad in some instances. The music app with all the songs I put in it takes a very long time to load, and I think that just comes down to having so little RAM. iOS 7 was never designed to run on a device with 256 megs of RAM. It can do it. It knows how to handle itself, especially because iOS 6 ran on devices with 256. So this is only a version newer than that. We saw iOS 6 run on the iPod Touch 4 with 256 megs, and we saw it run on the iPhone 3GS, which also only had 256 megabytes. So this device is pretty antiquated, pretty old, and I mean, that just makes sense. You got an A4 processor on this thing. Whereas the oldest officially supported iPad that can run iOS 7 would have been the iPad 2. This would have had double the RAM and a much faster processor, and it ran iOS 7 a lot better than what this is running it at. But it doesn't mean that it's not cool, and it also doesn't mean I don't think Apple shouldn't have supported this device. I think that what Apple should have done back then is allow people to install iOS 6 on these. First of all, there's no reason that this iPad couldn't have gotten 6, so I think that this should have at least gotten 6. And I know Apple isn't this consumer friendly, but I really wish that they allowed people to say, hey, this iPad can run iOS 7, we'll provide the drivers and such to make it work, but you can always go back to 6 if you feel like your experience is too slow. In fact, that actually would have helped them a lot with some other issues that they had, especially because when the iPhone 4 came out on iOS 7.0, it was garbage, and I think that people were complaining about that one quite a bit too. 7.1 ironed things out a lot. That's why we're seeing iOS 7.1 run on these older devices pretty okay, and it's because iOS 7.1 patched a lot of stuff to make these devices usable. iOS 5 is completely obsolete nowadays. I mean, to be fair, 6 and 7. To be fair, iOS 6 and iOS 7 are also both pretty useless nowadays. However, there's a lot more community work making these more usable, and iOS 6 and iOS 7 are more keen to the modern world, I would say. I mean, iOS 7 just looks more modern, but 6 got a lot more support than 5 did, and 7 got a lot more support than 6 did. So what I suggest that you do this on your own personal iPad 1. Yeah, actually. If you want to try this project for yourself, there's a link in the description for the GitHub project that I used for this iPad 1. Huge thanks to everyone who made this possible. This was a dream come true for me, and even though I wasn't able to contribute in it, I really wanted to. Simply just ran out of time. I'm very thankful that this project is now finally a reality, and I do plan to use this iPad a whole lot more now that it can run iOS 7. So, how do I feel about this sort of project? For me, it makes me feel two different things. First of all, it's exciting to see this be a thing. It's exciting to see that this is possible. But it also makes me furious, because it means that Apple simply just didn't care to support this device back then. Apple was a very different company back then when this iPad first released. However, in my opinion, when people are buying premium devices, you should be giving these devices more than 3 versions of software updates. It's very evident now, as I'm running iOS 7 on this iPad, this feels like something that would have come from Apple. The fact that this device can run iOS 7 and the fact that, I mean, it's running it right now, shows that Apple could have absolutely done this. They chose not to, and I think that that's just incredibly disappointing. It is what it is. I'm very happy that the thing that should have happened finally did happen. And not only that, it's one of the best ports of an iOS device I think I've ever seen. And not only that, it's untethered as well. I can turn this iPad off and turn it back on, and it will just work. In fact, I'll do that right now. I think it still shows the legacy boot icon. If I can get it to turn back on. There we go. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I know it's been a little while since I posted a video, and I don't like that. I really love making content, especially content like this, where new revelations come out and I can discuss them here. Yeah, there you go. I'm very thankful to be back, but it just stinks that things have gotten so busy and annoying, where I just haven't been able to post any content. YouTube is not the career that I want to pursue in the future. It's more so just a hobby. So, and I love making videos. I love making this content. I love expressing my creativity that way. But it has been difficult to keep up with it. It is a project, and editing videos takes several hours. So for me, as someone who's really passionate about it, I love doing it. It's just I don't have the time to do it. So maybe I'll hire out an editor or something in the future if I decide to do that. But with this not being a full-time career, as I have my job for that, that would make that very difficult to be able to afford. So I will do my best to make sure videos come out in a timely fashion. However, I can't guarantee that they will be very frequent. Now, the good news is that I do have more videos coming down in the pipeline. Specifically, I do want to experiment with using this device as a daily driver iPad for a while. And yes, I would be keeping it on iOS 7. iOS 5 is totally useless nowadays, but 7 is a little bit better. So I would totally be down for trying this as a daily driver device. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. Huge thanks for everyone who stuck around with me throughout the years. It's kind of crazy that it'll be 10 years since I started my YouTube channel. I'll be making a video on that in the future too. But for now, I'll keep all those little details about the history of this channel to myself until that 10-year anniversary video comes out. Thank you guys all for watching. Hope you all have a great day. Take care.